What's up, fam? This is Jawan Buford, broadcasting Detroit metropolitan area today. And what I want to talk about today is a conversation I had with a number of associates over the last couple of weeks. You know how I do it. When conversations start becoming more salient or they start happening with increased frequency, I'm going to jump online and I'm going to share whatever gems or nuggets that I would hope could be drawn from these interactions and discussions. And so what I want to talk about today is basically giving yourself time to cook, right? So I had a conversation with a number of associates who were, quite frankly, frustrated. They have been doing the activity, and this is key, right? If you have not been doing the activity, the KPIs, right? Inviting people to learn about your business, conducting three-way calls to get a prospect or an individual to come to a live event, or worst case scenario, a Zoom event. And a live event, of course, can be, to an extent, a Zoom event, but you know what I mean, right? A live briefing, a live luncheon, a belly-to-belly, eyeball-to-eyeball conversation. That's always going to be the best way to engage a prospect, particularly someone whom you want to recruit, right? Enrolling memberships digitally can be effective. Enrolling clients digitally can be effective. But at the end of the day, when you talk about building a team, that's building, what you're really talking about doing is building relationships, right? And so the best way to build a relationship is always going to be one-to-one or in a group of people where you can shake hands, eyeball each other, take inventory of each other, and develop those wonderful warm feelings for each other, right? So that's not the purpose of this talk today, but you get the point, right? You're doing the activity. You are getting people to the presentation. You are asking for referrals, right? These are the key performance indicators that will determine whether or not you are involved in the right activity on a day-to-day basis to build a thriving business. And so the conversation I've had, assuming that you're doing those things, assuming that you're showing up for training, right? Because look, entrepreneurship, it's not like the movies. It's not like social media, right? When people say you start with business, all of a sudden money rains from the sky like manna. That's not the way it works, right? 9 times out of 10, if someone's become successful and you began to notice, you may learn about them overnight, but trust me, they've been building for a time, right? You just learned about them overnight. And what I share with individuals is, look, you have to resist the urge to compare. Someone asked me, how in the world are you having success? How are you able to turn up in 24, 40 hours when you need to? How are you able to turn up over the course of a week? How are you able to turn up over the course of 90 days if you're in a 90-day run? And what I share with them is, number one, I'm not new to this, right? I'm in my 40s as an adult, but I've been doing entrepreneurship in a variety of different industries for approximately 20 years, right? And so, number one, I've been planting seeds for 20 years. I've been developing relationships for 20 years. I have been able to develop kind of like almost a brand for 20 years. People know who I am and what it is that I do. And that's been developed for 20 years. That just doesn't happen overnight. You don't create that type of credibility overnight. And so oftentimes, when I'm able to turn up in a 24 or 48 hour period of time, a lot of times I've been planting those seeds. I've been watering those seeds. I've been tilling the field, right? I've been adding fertilizer, helping people out, right? Edifying, celebrating, clapping for other individuals' success. And because of those relationships and those interactions and having served for a period of time, oftentimes what's happening is that people are reaching out to me more times than not. Or when I reach out to them, they're already kind of warmed up, if you will, right? We had a luncheon this past week where a young lady ended up attending, and she has known or been exposed to the work I've been doing in the community for approximately 7, 8 years. And she let me know as such. Well, it wasn't difficult for me to follow up and say, hey, I'd like to set up a time to have lunch sometime next week to talk a little bit more about entrepreneurship development, about business development, about financial independence, wealth building, collaboration, because I'm a known commodity. And sometimes that's really, as far as I'm concerned, that's often 80, 90% of it, right? you have a lot of individuals who maybe you've started your entrepreneur journey a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. But you haven't really had the time to develop the skill stacks, to develop the experience stacks, to develop the talent stacks, the knowledge stacks, the leadership stacks, right? And in order to have success, you have to develop these stacks. You have to give yourself time to cook. You know, in terms of entrepreneurial years, I'm a 20-year-old, right? I've been doing it for 20 years. And it's a false expectation if you're comparing yourself to people who've been in our business for 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20 years, that you're going to necessarily, based on your own gravitas, if you will, that you're going to be able to duplicate that type of success. You're not being fair to yourself. Now, look, we have an incredible business model. We have incredible leadership teams. We have individuals where you may be in business for yourself, you're not by yourself. So you're going to receive plenty of support, right? The beautiful thing about how we operate is that you don't need to take 5, 10, 15, 20 years to learn how to do things properly, because we're very transparent here. We share the game, right? We don't gatekeep. So there's Zoom calls you can jump on. You can set up coaching calls. You can participate in recordings that transpire, and you can immediately accelerate your learning curve, right? You can come to regional events that are transpiring all over the United States and in your marketplace. And if it's not a 15, 20-minute hour drive, okay, it's a 2-hour drive. Well, I'll drive somewhere 2 hours to expedite my process by 5 to 6 years, right? But here's the thing. Once again, you have individuals who may have been in sales for a period of time, but maybe they don't have the leadership stack. So they can move the services, they can move our products, they can take on clients because they lack the leadership stacks or experience, because they may lack team building experience. They may lack the ability or the experience that comes with managing people and training people and coaching people and leading people. They may be very quick. So you'll see people shoot off like a rocket in terms of taking on clients, but may take a short amount of time to build, right? These things matter. And so, like I said before, you know, the conversation I had with the individuals, like, look, how long have you been doing entrepreneurship? Let's just be honest, right? The response was, well, I've been at this for about 6 months. And once again, the person was frustrated. They were upset because they were like, man, I'm passionate about this. I believe in this. I want to get the same results that you're getting. I want to get the same results that someone else is getting. I want to get the same results somebody else is getting. And my response to them is, you got to be fair to yourself, right? Number one, what I encourage people to do is how most entrepreneur endeavors end up being launched. And that's on a part-time basis, right? It's very rare that you have individuals who've had success as entrepreneurs who lost a job, quit a job, something dramatic's happened in their life, and all of a sudden they got to go full-time. And I'm going to be frank with you. Oftentimes people who do that, you hear about success stories because of the nature of social media and people in general. You don't hear about the failure stories. More people crash out taking that approach than not. I mean, I got to believe it's got to be astronomical. I got to believe the number has to be 70, 80% for individuals who say, I'm going to walk away from a job either out of choice or they've been forced out of it. And then all of a sudden they're going to jump on entrepreneurship lacking all these different stacks and have success right out the gate. It just doesn't happen. You don't rise to your level of desire. You rise to your level of training and experience, right? And so there's just certain insights. There's a certain way of moving and interacting and engaging that you can't read in a book, that you can't necessarily pick up by listening to a webinar or listen to a training. Sometimes you got to be in the work. And if you've been doing this for 6 months, once again, I don't want to be redundant, but I don't want you to be too hard on yourself. I don't want you to believe, and you shouldn't believe, you shouldn't expect, you shouldn't feel like you deserve to be as effective as someone else who's been doing the thing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You're comparing if you've been in the business for 6 months, I want you to think about it like you're a grown adult, but I want you to think about yourself as a 6-month child. You're not going to feed a 6-month child steak, right? You're not going to ask a 6-month child to get out on the track and outrun a grown adult. You're not going to ask a 6-month child to even consume the information the same way. Because oftentimes, even when it comes to education and knowledge and training, it's like listening to music. You know, you hear a song and, you know, let's say you've heard the song a million times for a period of time, if you're like me, right? You know, I got these OCD proclivities where, you know, I like a song, I'll listen to it over and over and over again. But then 2 years go by, 2 months go by, 20 years go by, you hear the song again, but you hear it differently. It's not that the song changed, you've changed. So you're listening to it differently. That happens too, right? That's part of that process of cooking, if you will, right? And the mentorship, and more importantly, the exampleship, right? That's something else, right? I ask people to please don't be lazy in language. Like sometimes you have to utilize your 2 ears. You got 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Listen, pay attention. When there are individuals in my space or in the ecosystem that are having more success than me, I'm listening to what they're saying, but you know what else I'm doing? I'm watching how they move. I'm paying attention, like laser focus on the language that they're using. And I may not always understand the language they're using, but the bottom line is, if someone is earning 6 figures or 7 figures plus in this business, when they're given the presentation, that is a presentation that has helped to earn them 6 and 7 figures. Some of us are trying to jump into it and do it our way. Some of us are trying to take shortcuts and expedite the process. No, I will gladly drop, adopt, change, alter my presentation when I find out somebody else is communicating the message, the value prop, in a way more effectively than me, right? And for those of you who've worked with me personally, if you listen to my presentation is really just a constitution of other presentations, right? You'll hear Tony Petrell in my presentation. You'll hear a little bit of Darnell Self and Carruthers in my presentation. You'll hear a little bit of Melissa Wilder in my presentation. You'll hear a little bit of my presentation. You'll hear some of Rob Hurst in my presentation. You'll hear those things. And when I hear other people whose stack is bigger than mine, I'm going to borrow their stack, right? I'm going to glean what I can glean from them. And that's the other thing that I would encourage you to do. When I'm having conversations with a lot of our business partners, I'm like, tell me, how are you inviting people to learn about the service, right? I'll give you an example. And look, if the shoe fits, wear it. Eat the fruit, spit out the seed. If this is not applicable to you, it's not applicable to you. But if it is, and you need to hear this, I need you to hear this, right? So I asked someone the other day, I was like, you know, when you are inviting people to look at a tool, particularly when you're dealing with business owners, I asked them, after you invite them to look at the tool, what are you doing? They said, well, I'll recommend a Thursday at 5. And for me, it was an eyebrow raiser, because the one thing I know about business owners is we're busy. And the other thing about business owners don't like to be told what to do. That's why they decide to be business owners. When I'm scheduling appointments, I give people choice, and it's just small nuance, right? I'm meeting for business owner. I invite them to learn about a tool, whether it be audio or video, some type of pre-recording, or even if I'm inviting them to an event. And if you're working jointly with me, you'll hear me say to a business owner when I'm making the invitation, hey, when do you think you'll get around to taking a look at this? And they may say, I'm going to look at it tomorrow, or I'm going to reflect on this later on today, or today is what, Thursday? Today's today. You're an entrepreneur, that's what it is, today. I may look at it Friday, or I may look at it Saturday. And then you'll hear me say, well, look, if I were to follow up with you Friday, should it be morning or afternoon? They say morning, 8, 9, or 10. They say afternoon, 1, 3, or 5. Now, what they don't know is that I'm looking at my calendar, and I already know the windows I'm available. And so I'm really asking them what times will work for me that will work for them, but I'm giving them the choice, right? I may ask them if I know there's a luncheon and a briefing taking place on the same day of the week. I may ask, well, look, let me ask you a question. Are you available Wednesday at 1 or Thursday at 6? Why? Because I know there's a luncheon taking place Wednesday at 1. I also know there's a Zoom meeting, which is the former is my preference. You got to do what you got to do. Or would Thursday at 6 work best for you? They say Thursday at 6. Thursday at 6. Live Zoom. Send an invitation. If they say, well, no, you know, I want to grab a bite to eat, I'm open to that, right? People don't oftentimes turn away free food. Business is usually done, or deals are made either on a golf course or at a restaurant table eating food, right? It's Americans' favorite pastime. It's people's favorite pastime to grab a bite to eat, right? I'm asking either or, right? So I'm never going to ask a business owner, hey, you available Wednesday at 1? Never going to do that. Are you available Thursday at 6? Are you available Tuesday at 5:45 or Tuesday at 7? I don't do that. I'm always either or because I know business owners like control. They like agency in everything that they do, right? And so even little small nuances like that, the exposure process, how you invite people, right? You know, you'll hear me ask someone, look, you know, after edifying them, after edifying the tool, once again, you'll hear me say, if I were to follow up with you, if I were to forward the information to you, would you take a look at it? I don't say, hey, I'm going to send the information to you right now, and then I'll follow the, no. Because then they're going to put you in a land of maybe. You send someone, you don't schedule a follow-up when to connect with them again, you're going to get put in a land of maybe. Maybe they'll look at it, maybe they won't. Maybe they'll look at it today, maybe they'll look at it tomorrow, maybe they'll look at it a year from now, maybe they'll look at it 2 years from now. I know, I don't want to be put in a land of maybe. I'm going to ask, when are you going to get around taking a look at this? And I'm going to let them tell me when they're getting around to take a look at it. I'm scheduling an appointment to follow up with them. Oftentimes what I'm hearing is that people are so eager and quick to get the information in front of someone, you're missing an important step. And if someone says, well, I'm going to look at it tomorrow, let's say at 1 o'clock, I'll say, well, look, do you prefer I give you a call at 3 or 5 tomorrow to follow up? Make sure you have any questions that need answering or to provide any clarification. I make myself available to you. It's all good. It can be yay or nay, but your feedback matters to me. I want to work with people like you. I have a lot of respect and regard for you, and your feedback will be invaluable, right? So I'm going to say, once again, 3 or 5 o'clock. If there's something available at 5, so you sure you're available at 5? Yeah, you sure? You positive? Because I know you're busy. I am too. I got kids, responsibilities, all kinds of different things going on. You sure that'll work for you? Yeah, okay, great. Phenomenal. Well, I'm going to confirm the appointment as well. And there's a psychology to this, but I don't have time to go into psychology because an appointment is getting ready to start here in a moment. I don't want to miss the appointment. But you get the point, right? Don't be lazy in language. Pay attention to these scripts. Like I said before, some of you are like doing 50% of the script, doing 50% of the approach, and you wonder why you're getting like 20% of the results. And a lot of that has to do with, I'm just going to be real with you, being a little bit lazy in language. You want to approach the business in your voice. You want to approach the business as you are, as yourself. But you also have to understand that maybe, you know what, let me stop being coquettish about this. You are where you are as you made an appointment to be here. If you're not getting the results you want, you have to become a person that gets different results, which means you may have to use different language. You need to learn different language. You may need to learn different frameworks, different mindsets, approaches, and ways of seeing things, right? Because business at the end of the day is easy. If you do what successful people do, you will have what they have. And sometimes you got to get out your own way too. That's important too. And look, let me give you the flip side. I'm not saying you got to sound exactly like other people. You don't have to sound exactly like them, but also understand that there's craft here, right? A lot of these scripts, a lot of these approaches, a lot of these ways of communicating things have been practiced. They're tried and true. It hasn't just worked for one person. It's worked for hundreds, if not thousands of people. And so for you to come into this business, or for you to come into any business endeavor and think that you don't have to learn that craft, that's problematic. I had a conversation with someone earlier today about how to communicate to HR directors and CFOs and CEOs and COOs so to be more inclined to schedule the appointment, or more inclined to have the Zoom call, be more inclined to have the conversation. It's certain language that's out there, right? So there's a reason why you want to take certain classes. There's a reason why you want to get involved in certain learning and curricula to not oftentimes learn what to say, but the language to deliver the value prop in a way that a person that you want to learn about what you're doing will receive it better, right? So words like absenteeism or presenteeism, right? Employee retention, right? there's a language, the business out there that you have to be willing to learn as well if you want to operate in that space. And so, that's the conversation I wanted to have today. Like I said, it's come up numerous times, and I wanted to kind of address that elephant in the room. Because there are experiences and skills that you also bring to the table that other people don't have. Maybe you may not have experience, quote unquote, getting people to make buying decisions as it relates to a product or service, but maybe you have leadership experiences on 10. You've managed a lot of different teams. You've managed a lot of different people. You've built teams before. There are people in our business that are phenomenal at building teams, but I wouldn't put them in front of my children. I wouldn't put them in front of my, a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. I wouldn't dare put them in front of my child to give a presentation. Wouldn't do it. Because I know they're not good at it. I wouldn't have them communicate the small business plan or the group benefit. But I know they know how to build a team. Right? And so I want you to be easy with yourself. I want you to be eager. I want you to learn fast. I want you to model fast. I want you to be an example fast. I would encourage you to consume what you need to consume as quickly as possible. But also understand there's a learning curve here that has to transpire, and there's no avoiding it. Because if you skip these steps, what will end up happening is you will have maybe success in one area of your business, but you have deficits in other areas, and it will rear its ugly head later on down the line, right? And then, last but not least, and I'll wrap up, so I can hear this point. That's another reason why I'm a huge, huge proponent of using three-way calls and using third-party presentations. Because once again, you may lack these stacks. It's okay. You can get those of us who are experienced, who don't lack these stacks, and you can hear our presentations. You can hear the way we overcome objectives. You can hear how we assuage people's concerns and feelings and consternation they may have. You can also watch and observe how we deal with failure. Don't think for a moment that the individuals who've achieved incredible success aren't out here catching L's occasionally too. People say no to me all the time. I had someone say, "Why you give the best presentation?" And everybody says, I said, "No, they don't. I've given presentations in front of 7-10 people, and it's flat out no." I've given presentations in front of 7-10 people. All of them say yes. I've been able to mirror match with people, and because we have the same background, we have the same life experience, come from the same industry, and we just hit it off. On the other hand, I've given presentations in front of people, and it was like oil and water. It just wasn't gonna mix. It wasn't gonna happen. I had to get somebody else involved, assuming that I could save the interaction or relationship, right? These things are gonna happen. Even the best of us encounter difficulty. What I would encourage you to consider, though, is that those of us who win at a higher level is because we lose at a higher level. What I mean, our rate of failure is faster than yours, right? If I'm doing 30 exposures a week, I may end up catching an L 20 times to get to 5 to 10 yeses. But if you're doing 10 exposures a week, you see where I'm going with this? Like, those 10 exposures may net you 1 or 3 individuals who are willing to say yes. We could be saying the exact same thing. We could have the exact same approach, have the same level of experience, skill, talent, these different stacks. But because the volume is lower, your rate of success is going to be slower, right? On the other hand, somebody could be exceptionally skilled. Somebody could have all of the skill stacks, experience stacks, talent stacks in the world, right? Leadership, knowledge stacks. But if they're doing 10 exposures, but you come to the table and you don't have those stacks, but you're doing 30 or 40, you're still going to beat that person because of volume 2. Sometimes you can make up what you lack for volume and activity. And it's the same thing like swimming. Even though some people seem like they're born out of the womb to swim. But, okay, riding a bike. Or shooting, 90% from the free throw line with basketball. You know what I mean, right? There's certain things, spaced repetition takes place. You got to have a spaced repetition to get good at it, right? doing the work, and then reevaluating and having someone coach you to help you improve, plan, do, review. I like what Mr. Hoffman oftentimes says. He says, show me, well, tell me, show me, let me, grow me. And so we're going to tell you what to do. We're going to demonstrate. We're going to show you. We're going to grow you, give you positive or progressive feedback, or we're going to let you and then give you the feedback so you can improve at it. You know where I'm going with this, right? I'm kind of stressed out right now because I'm looking at the clock. I only have a couple of minutes. So hopefully this lands the way I wanted to land, because, like I said, it was kind of egging me. It was irking me a little bit. I wanted to address it sooner rather than later before 5 other things end up on my table and then my mind goes elsewhere. So once again, hopefully this helps you. Hopefully this lands well. Hopefully this helps you just get a little bit better. You don't need to get 100% better in one day. If you get 1% better a day, you're going to be 365% better at the end of the year. If you get 1% better a week, 52% better in any endeavor, you're going to get better results, right? So once again, give yourself time to cook. Give yourself time to develop these stacks. Lean on leadership. Lean on mentorship. Lean on exampleship. I celebrate success in advance. Goodbye for now.